Thanks for having me here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we've supported digital fieldwork during the lockdown, but also preceding the lockdown and after the lockdown as well. So my name is Joe Berry. I work for an institution called the Higher Education's Futures Institute, which is part of the University of Birmingham. And we kind of cover all the kind of e-learning side of things, digital education, and also the education development of academics as well, so academic CPD. So we're a centre which encompasses those different functions. And we've been doing quite a lot of work over the last few years around virtual field trips. And I'm going to go in and just show you what a couple of these things look like. I've put a couple of links in the announcements as well, just to give you an idea of what I mean when I say a virtual field trip, because there are various types. People think virtual reality. This is a much more low tech, but actually quite an impactful way of doing it, which I want to talk to you about today. So if I go to my browser. So here's one example. So this is in a forest research centre, which is just north of Birmingham in Staffordshire, where we went in, and this is a closed site. The public can't get in there and students can't get in there normally. But there's some really interesting science going on in here. So we wanted to make it available to more people to have a look around. And as you can see, this system, we use ThingLink. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Allows you to embed extra images and content, and people can move around from scene to scene and explore the environment. You can also embed little videos as well, like that one, for example. So that's the kind of technology we're looking at and we've been using. Similarly, there's one here in Norway, which is I'm going to try and pronounce this, Hardangerfjall Glacier. I hope there's no Norwegians watching who I've just offended by mutilating their language. But a good example here, you can embed things like YouTube videos. So this scene, for example, this glacier is actually used in Empire Strikes Back. So that's a nice little engagement thing you can build in. So that's a technology. That's the kind of thing we've been creating. And we've also been building in some activities as well, so students can kind of look through this environment. This example here is a virtual survey, so they can look at the ground at various places around the glacier and count the vegetation, see what kind of vegetation is growing there. And this is all about primary succession. So you can see here there's nothing there to note, but they go through, they make notes, and they build up activities as they go in. So that's the kind of thing we've been doing. So I'll take a couple of steps back. Let me just go back into presentation mode. So the original impetus of this was around inclusivity. It was about students who couldn't get out to these locations and trying to give them access to it. So we actually went out on field courses with the academics, and we took the 360 images, pieced them together. And then afterwards, the academics and ourselves added in the extra information and any extra resources, videos, imagery, that kind of thing. Obviously, when COVID struck, all this stuff became much more relevant to many more students. So suddenly these field courses became the only way of experiencing a field course on these courses. There were some pedagogical drivers as well in the choice of this technology, the 360 scenes particularly. So this is a model from Lee Wong and Fung in 2010, which talks about factors enhancing learning outcomes. So you can see there we've got presence, motivation, the aspect of control and active learning. So actually going into these scenes and looking around and having the control to go where you want to, we felt would enhance the learning rather than just having a dry page on a website with a few photos in it, which is what was being done previously. There's also an aspect of these things which we didn't really anticipate, which is the power of narrative. So the idea you're actually going into a place. So this quote is from a school child, which we showed these things to. And they described it as a magic camera going into a secret forest, and that's effectively what it is. You're going through these gates into this secluded place you couldn't normally get to and looking around. And there's a power in that as well. It sticks in your mind. So historically, these things were quite hard to build. You need a level of technological competence. That was as recent as 2017. That was reported as a barrier. But in the last 3 or 4 years, really, the price of 360 cameras and the kit you can use and get hold of it's come down significantly, and they're much easier to use. So this Fusion camera, I think, cost about 350 quid. You trigger it with a smartphone, and we just mounted it on a 40-pound tripod, and that's what captured the imagery I showed you earlier on. So it's not an expensive thing. And the benefit of delivering it through a system like ThingLink is that it gives you various modes of delivery. So you can embed it into the VLE, as you see there on the right. You can watch it on a smartphone, and you can also put it into VR mode as well. So that allows you to actually use the goggles and look around as if you're in the scene. So the ThingLink hosting is really critical to the way all this works and the way it delivers and the experience of the students. It's very engaging, as you've probably seen already from what I've shown you. We had a lot of engagement, and we took it out to one of the local schools, and the kids absolutely loved it. Equally, we showed it to our Vice Chancellor, who you could say is a different end of the educational and age spectrum, for want of a better way of saying it, and he loved it as well. So it's a very kind of immediately engaging medium. And the bit we were missing really was what the students actually thought about it. So this year, obviously, it's a bit of a different year. Everyone, this is what they've got. They can't go out to Norway or to the Peak District. But the student feedback was really, really positive. So these undergraduates, first and second year undergraduates, and they really, really found it a useful and powerful tool, especially kind of when it's mixed up with the rest of the online learning methods of delivery. So kind of moving forward, one of the things we wanted to do really was, I mentioned activities. So initially when we did these things, they're very much a kind of acquisition and inquiry. So this is drawing from Diana Laurelard's conversational framework, which is quite a well-established way of doing learning design and building resources into a learning design. So you can see there, we've used the VLE as the context setting tool, and we link out to the virtual tours. And that allows you to build activities after it and to put some context before it as well. So it makes it a much richer experience and a deeper educational experience. So you see, rather than just being about acquisition, going in and reading the knowledge, acquiring the knowledge, you're inquiring, you're looking around. And if you build the activities in as well, you're actually producing something as well. So another way of layering in that kind of learning, and that's quite easy to do. It embeds very nicely into all the VLEs, as far as I know. So that's been a really kind of positive way forward. And I think this is looking to the future after COVID. This is the way we're looking at carrying on using these things. So when the students do go out on field courses, we can still use these as pre-trip work, so they kind of think a bit more about what they're going to see when they go out there. They're more prepared when they go out to the field. It will still be there for students who can't go out into the field themselves, but also as a kind of reinforcement activity after the event. So it's something that's not going to go away. I think now we've kind of proven the pedagogical value of it, as well as the prettiness, if you like. This is something we're hoping to embed into the curriculum longer term.